and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're having a lovely week so far. Today, we're getting very, very bookish. We're talking big books. Today, I've been through my shelves and pulled off any book that I have that's over... Well, first of all, I started with books that were over 800 pages, and basically I've got all the books here that are on my shelves that are over 500 pages. Yeah, 500 pages or more. There's 12 of them, and some of them I've read, some of them have been relinquishing on my shelves for a long, long time, and I just thought we'd look at them together, and then I thought maybe we could have a little chat down below and you can tell me some of the biggest books on your shelves, because I've got these big books here, and I'll be honest with you, I feel a bit put off when I look at the big books. I think, oh, I don't want to read it, it's such a big book. And I need to stop doing that. So maybe when I get to the end of this video, I might have come to some sort of like thought in my mind as to if I reckon I could read these big books by the end of the year. And then I can go into 2020, I don't like, 2020, 2020 or 2020, how will you say it?
2020.
2020, it just sounds very futuristic, doesn't it? Having read, being big book free. So let's start with the biggest book on my bookshelf. Hurrah, it's one I've already read. It's The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Now, I actually read this on Kindle. So I saw this in a charity shop, and it was, I think it was £1 or 50p or something, and I'd enjoyed it so much on my Kindle that I bought it and thought I will own that, and then I can lend it to people and annoy people by telling them to read it. It's a long, long time I read this. Like before booktube even, and I've been doing booktube like almost 5 years now, maybe even 5 years. I don't really take much notice of how long I've been doing it, but yeah, I really like this. This is a whole life story of someone called Theo Decker. Him and his mother, I can't remember whether his mother survives. They're in an accident at a famous gallery in New York, I think. God, it's been a long time. Yeah, and he... Oh, no, his mother does die. He's taken in by a family of a wealthy friend. And in that gallery that he has that accident, there's this painting of the Goldfinch. And this painting sort of appears throughout his life in different parts of his life, and I really, really loved it. I would actually, me sat here talking about it, maybe not this year, I've got all these other big books to talk about, but I would quite like to revisit this because I just enjoyed it so much. Also, this cover is just so well done in terms of 3D, isn't it? It really does look like that is a little rip in the page and there's a little goldfinch under there. But yeah, really enjoyed this. Probably my favourite of Donna Tartt's. I've also read The Secret History. I've only read 2. Probably my favourite of the 2 Donna Tartt's I've read. Minnie, don't be naughty. We've pulled the curtains back so she can look outside, and she's just absolutely obsessed with life up there. So yeah, first book that is on my big books, and the biggest book I own is a book I've already read, so well done me. The second book is a book that I got for Christmas, not last year, the year before, from David's well, I say David's parents, David's mum does to buy him. And that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. Now this comes in at, oh God, it's so heavy, this one, 853 pages. However, the end is sort of like appendices and notes and things like that. I know nothing of Middlemarch. I know literally nothing. Do you know what? These cloth-bound classics as well, which are beautiful, and there's another one of these appearing a bit later on. I love them so much. They're so, so beautiful. I actually collect them. I've got like a little shelf of them down there. Don't know why I'm pointing. You can't see down there. But yeah, I've no idea what Middlemarch is about. Is there a way I can find out? I don't think there is. There's no blurb on this. People are just supposed to know. So yeah, I know nothing about Middlemarch. I do think I would like to read this year. I'm going to leave it in my would like to read this year pile. There we go. So those are my 2 books over 800 pages. The next 3 are books over 600 pages. The first one is a charity shop buy of The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. Kate Morton is an author that I found out via my book club that I run at work. It's been running like a long time now, about 8 or 9 years. Somebody put a Kate Morton book in the pot quite early doors, and we read it, and they're very enjoyable and very easy to talk about. They follow a sort of same formula as something happened in the past, and somebody, either a family member or somebody who's now living in the property where this thing happened, is being looked into, but based on the thing that happened in the past. There's like, and these 2 storylines are running alongside each other. I really always enjoy Kate Morton. I haven't read Kate Morton for a long time, and you will find that there's another Kate Morton book coming up, because her books are normally very, very, very long. This one is The Distant Hours, and it says here, it started with a letter. Edie Birchall and her mother had never been close, but when a long-lost letter arrives one Sunday afternoon with the return address of Midlehurst Castle, Kent, printed on its envelope, Edie begins to suspect that her mother's emotional distance masks an old secret. Evacuated from London as a 13-year-old girl, Edie's mother was chosen by the mysterious Juniper Blythe and taken to live at Malderhurst Castle with the Blythe family. 50 years later, Edie too is drawn to the castle and the eccentric sisters Blythe. Old ladies now, the three of them still live together. The twins nursing Jupiter, whose abandonment by her fiancé in 1941 plunged her into madness. Inside the decaying castle, Edie begins to unravel her mother's past, but there are other secrets hidden in the stones of Malderhurst Castle. God, I got my mouth around that castle. And Edie is about to learn more than she expected. The truth of what happened in the distant hours has been waiting a long time for someone to find it. Now I read that and I think, bloody hell, I'd really, really like that. So that is going in my pile of big books I'd like to read this year. The next one is Rohinton Mystery, A Fine Balance. I bought this on probably the first booktuber meetup that I've ever done. David, that oil really smells.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Is it?
Yeah, I'll put stuff in it now.
Oh, David's making Yorkshire pudding.
You need to let it get nice and hot.
And you need to let that oil get nice and hot. This is A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. I bought this. So many people have said to me that this is their favourite book. The book club that I run at work, somebody had put this in the pot, but then it got removed because it was too big. Mercedes always used to say that this was her favourite book, and I must read it. I absolutely must read it. And I bought this second-hand copy in Scoob, which is a second-hand bookshop, sort of just down the road, really, from King's Cross. And it says here, set in the mid-1970s in India, A Fine Balance tells the story of four unlikely people whose lives come together during a time of political turmoil soon after the government declares a state of internal emergency. Through days of bleakness and hope, their circumstances and their fates become inextricably linked in ways no one could have foreseen. So yeah. God, it's really small font as well. So yeah, that is 614 pages. And then the last book in the 600 page category is a book that I believe I got from my mum and dad's bookshelves. And this is a compendium of 3 famous Du Maurier novels. The King's General, which I already own in paperback. The Flight of the Falcon, which I don't own in paperback, which is the only reason I'm hanging on to this. And The House on the Strand, which I do own in paperback, but I'm just looking there. Oh, I actually do own The Flight of the Falcon, so this can go. That can go to the charity shop. I've also got these Daphne du Mauriers that I bought from work. They were 50p each, and this is a bit of damaged one, but the only reason I was hanging on to that is because it had The Flight of the Falcon in it, and I didn't think I owned it, but I do, so that can go. You don't need to think about that anymore. That's gone. Now we're on to the books which are 500 pages or more. This one is almost 600 pages, so I'll start with this. That is Under a Pole Star by Steph Penny. This is 598 pages. This I definitely want to read. However, as you can see, it's got an icy front cover, and I feel like it's going to be best served for me to read it in the winter. So I'm going to hold on to this and read it in the winter. I've heard it's a bit sexy. I've heard there's quite a lot of sex in it. And it says here, like when I read this blurb out, I feel so excited. Flora Mackey first crossed the Arctic Circle at the age of 12. Years later, in 1892, she returned to lead an expedition to northern Greenland, defying the expectations of those who believe a woman has no place in that harsh world. Geologist Jacob DeBain was raised in Manhattan. Yearning for wider horizons, he joins a rival expedition. Jacob and Flora's paths cross. Passion and ambition collide as an irresistible attraction is born. The violent extremes of the north obsess them both. Perpetual nights and endless days, frozen seas and coastal meadows. And the strange, maddening pull it exerts on the people chasing glory on its vast expanses. So yeah, looking at that front cover, I thought this was non-fiction, but it's not. It is a novel. So yes, that is definitely going to go on my pile. However, I am aware I will not be reading it until the winter. The next one I've got is also one that I'm going to read in the winter, and I feel like I say this almost every year because I believe it's set in December, and it's called The Darkest Day by Harkin Nessa. This was sent to me by the publisher, and it's so heavy. It's really heavy. It is 529 pages long, and it says, it's December in the quiet Swedish town of Kimlinge, and the Hermansson family are gathering to celebrate Father Carl Eric and eldest daughter Ebba's joint landmark birthdays, but beneath the guise of happy festivities, tensions are running high, and it's not long before the night takes a dark and unexpected turn. Before the weekend is over, 2 members of the Hermansson family are missing, and it's up to Inspector Barbarotti, a detective who spends as much of his time debating the existence of God as he does solving cases, to determine exactly what went on and unravel a web of sinister family crimes committed on the darkest day. So yeah, and this is the first novel in a stunning 5-part series. So yeah, very interested. This is translated fiction as well. Maybe I'll read that in November, when it's sort of like beginning to feel like December, but December obviously we all know is when I read my Christmas books. So yeah, maybe I'll read that in December. So that's also going on my pile of books to read, but it's going on my books to read in the winter time. And the next 3 are books that I've already read, so we can be very pleased about that. The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne is my favourite book of this year. I absolutely adored this book. I miss these people that are in this book. I loved it so much. It follows Cyril Avery and his whole life, like basically from like his mother falling pregnant with him up until his death, and his life and different countries he lives in, the different people he meets. It's amazing for representation. It covers AIDS crisis. It's just wonderful. I thought it was amazing. It's got really, really high highs and really, really low lows. I laughed, I cried, when I finished this, I had to like, no, it wasn't when I finished it, it was a part in this book where I had to like go and grip David and just have a little sob with him, because there's just so much love in this book for the other characters, and there's so many relationships. There's like romantic love, motherly love, friendship. It's just wonderful. I can't urge people enough to go and read it. I absolutely adored it, found it amazing. And I've read it, so that's done. Another one, another big book, which is a children's book. You don't often get these old children's books that are very good. 548 pages, The Amber Spyglass. Another one of my faves. A series that I've read time and time again. Most recently I've been reading it by listening to the audiobooks. They're done as a radio play almost, so they've got a full cast of different voices for different characters. Love them. The series is coming out, isn't it, this year on the BBC. Do I want to reread them before then? Probably, actually. And I don't know, people please let me know if you do know whether or not the series is going to be all 3 books, because this is the last in his Dark Materials trilogy. If the series is going to be all 3 books or just the first book. I've never seen any adaptations of the second and third book. No, I haven't, because the film was made, wasn't it? And it was a bit and they only made the first one. So I wonder if the series is going to cover more than just the first book. But yeah, so loved it, can't say any more about it. And then another one was one of my favourites from last year. It's The Paying Guest by Sarah Waters. Sarah Waters' books do tend to be quite long. This one is... It's got a lot of blurb in the back as well, bump in the back about different books you should read if you like this book, etc. 599, so we're almost in there with 600 pages. Really, really love this. This is a, I always describe this as a sort of love story mixed with a crime story. It's an urgent love story up until basically like halfway through the book, and all of a sudden it turns into an urgent crime story, and it's just tension and panic and stolen moments and amazing. LGBTQ+, love it, love it, love it, love it. And then the last 2 are books that I haven't read. The first one being a book that I mentioned, an author that I've already mentioned in this video, and that's Kate Morton. This is The Clockmaker's Daughter. As I said, Kate Morton's books are always long. This is over 600 pages. This is naughty, I should have had this in the 600 page section. This was approved, so I don't know if I've got... Oh, I have. So it says, my father called me Birdie. He said I was his little bird. Others knew me as his child, the Clockmaker's Daughter. Edward called me his muse, his destiny. We came to Birchwood Manor because Edward said that it was haunted. It wasn't, not then. He promised the others an entire month of paint and poetry and picnics, of light heaven sent, but seeds that had laid dormant in our circle took root that summer, and nothing was the same again. And again, this is, it says here, told by multiple voices across time, which is ordinary for the older Kate Morton books. The Clockmaker's Daughter is an enchanting new story of art, love and loss by the #1 seller, Kate Morton. So yeah, very enjoyable. That's going on with that one I can read in the summer because there's no winter. And then the last one, I've actually got plans and a month to read this. So this is a cloth-bound classic of Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is Mijita. This is 578 pages long. This year, I'm planning on doing June Eyre, where in June I read lots and lots of books, books based on Jane Eyre. There's lots and lots of retellings. I've got some on my shelves here. I've got Reader, I Married Him, which is a collection of short stories. I haven't read Jane Eyre since school. Wide Sargasso Sea is another book that I own in this cloth-bound classic, which is a prequel to Jane Eyre, which I've been meaning to revisit. And I just know there's some other books out there, so I will definitely be reading this in June, along with some other Jane Eyre books, so very, very excited about that. So those are the biggest books on my bookshelves. I'd love to hear if you guys have read any of these books, or any of these on your TBR. What are the biggest books on your bookshelf? Would love to hear. I also own Gone with the Wind, but I don't know where that is, because that's massive. That's over 1,000 pages. I've got the paperback of that, and that's over 1,000. So yeah, that's it from me today, and I will see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!